Jay here from Flipping Cars for Fun. I am back, and on this episode we have a 2016 Chevy Trax. Today I'm going to show you guys how we took this car from nothing to something. I'm going to show you everything we did to the car, from painting the hood, brakes, tie rods. I'm going to show you how we made over $3,000 in profit on this one car. Let's get into it. Just taking delivery of this Chevy Trax. Transporter just dropped it off. This is a good one. This will be my first start. Let's start her up. This one does have a few problems we're going to discuss based off what they told me at auction. Let's start her up. Very nice car and worth some money. Got a good deal on it. Question is, can I fix it? So we got no gas and we got our check engine light. Give it a test ride. Let's go for a test drive. We got a bit of a shake coming from the car. Let's put it in reverse. All right. Oh, it says service rear vision system. We don't have our backup camera working right now. Okay, let's step on the gas. Let's bring it up. She does feel strong. I'm hearing a little bit of clunking. Just noticed something when I'm pressing the brakes. I'm getting a bit of a shake. It could be a bent rotor. The wheel is shaking a little bit when I'm pressing the brakes, so it could be something like that. Okay, so we just got our vehicle back from test drive. Now let's go over some of the things that I see are wrong with this vehicle. So one of the first things that I noticed when I was driving this car is that we got like a bouncy feeling coming from the front end of the vehicle, roughly on this side. And I do see a lot of brake dust over here, a lot of brake dust compared to the other wheels. When I stop, it feels like the wheel is shaking. So I want to say that's probably a bent rotor. But as you can see, there's a ton of brake dust over here compared to the other wheels. Look at the other wheels back here. If you look on this side, this one is clear, it's nice and clean. And also this one, you don't see anything like that. But if we look at this one, of course, a ton of brake dust. So there's something going on over here, something bouncing, something shaking, something moving on this side. Now, another thing I noticed is we have a rust spot on the hood. Not too big of a rust spot, but that'll definitely need to be addressed if I want to sell this car for a premium. So we got a little bit of rust here, a tiny bit of rust here, and that's about it for the rust spots, but that's not that bad. The issue with this is I would have to sand this down, try to spot paint this area, but the whole hood may need to be cleared. So that's something I got to do. And if I got to do it to make it sell for a premium, that's what I'm going to do. Now, another thing that's going on, the trunk doesn't open. When I pull this, you know, it's supposed to automatically open. There's a button here that you press, and that's pretty much supposed to make the trunk go up automatically. When you press it, it's supposed to pop open, and I can't get this thing open at all. So pretty much what that's telling me is that we have a bad trunk module. So I'm gonna need to look into that. The rear camera wasn't working either. I'm assuming that that has something to do with this. Maybe they were in there and they unplugged it. I'm hoping that's what happened. So there's something going on back here. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to inspect that as well. Now let's go over the codes that are on this car. Let's scan this thing. Now, when I purchased this car, I knew that the code that is on this car was on there. I did get it for a good deal, but the code that's on this car requires a little bit of work. I did my research before I purchased the car, and I decided to take a chance. Let's scan it. Okay, let's go over the codes. So what we have is a P0171 System 2 Lean Bank 1. That's the first code. We also have a P0496, which is the EVAP system. Okay, based off my research and what I found on the internet with these engines is I would have to change the intake manifold and the valve cover gasket. Both those pieces have to be changed together in order for this to work. It's kind of a process because you have to take off the whole valve cover gasket, and you also have to change the intake manifold, which is kind of in the rear of the engine. You have to take that out. Now, one of the reasons I purchased this vehicle because it only has 112,000 miles, guys. Now, with just 112,000 miles, based off Kelley Blue Book, based off what I'm seeing people selling them online, cars valued at $6,700 to $7,000 or more sometimes with this mileage and this year, and I got it for a pretty good price. If we can pull that off, if we could get this thing fixed, this will probably be one of the most profitable cars I have because I got it for a really good price. We'll go over the numbers later on in the video. If we could pull off this work, you know, get the backup camera working, get the trunk to open, and most importantly, get those parts changed under the hood and get that cold off the car, get it to run correctly. That's probably why we're having a little bit of shaking on the car. If we can get this thing running right, we'll be good to go. So other than that, the condition of the car is really good. It's just really dirty. Looks like somebody didn't take care of it, but very low miles. The seats are just dirty. Looks like they ate a lot in the car, just left stuff behind. Normal wear and tear, as you guys can see. Really easy to clean. Let's check out the back. You can see there's a bunch of junk on the floor, some vapes. Pretty much this is it. So that's what we got. Let's get to working on this thing. So one of the first things I got to do, I have to figure out how to get this trunk open. Now, as I'm looking through the car, I like to look for clues. I want to see things that people probably tried to do. I can kind of look at what they have going on in the car, how they left pieces that are taken off on the car. I like to look for clues of things that they tried to do, you know, things that they left unscrewed or things that they took apart and left apart. That just means to me that they tried to do something that, you know, that was possibly the problem. And the first thing we got to do is get back here to this trunk because it doesn't open from the back. So we got to get these seats down so we can climb in there and open that trunk manually. Okay, so apparently if you take a screwdriver and you put it in that little hole, you can open this. Okay, so here we are in the back of the trunk. Can barely fit back here, but apparently if you put the screwdriver here, there should be a little hole. You can manually open this up. Okay, so I'm gonna use my bigger screwdriver. See if I can get in there, see if that works. They say you're supposed to put it in there and then turn it to the left. So we're gonna turn it to the left. There we go. We got it. All right. Let's get out to the trunk. Okay. We got it. Okay, so from what I can see, it looks like they already took it off. We got some missing holders here. I don't know, maybe clips over here. It looks like they tried to work on this thing. I'm not sure if they got to the bottom of it. So what's gonna be in question is this actuator right here. We're gonna change this and see if that makes a difference. Just looking at the parts that are in the car, it looks like maybe this goes here. They pretty much broke this thing apart trying to figure it out. I guess one of the main things we're gonna have to do is basically remove this, pop it off, and see if we can get this thing fixed. That was easy. So it looks like they were already in here. Got our new actuator. Now let's hope that this thing works. I'm hoping that they didn't try to change this one already. It doesn't look like it. It looks a little beat up. I don't know, but they did do a lot of like taking it apart, looking at it. The question is, did they know what they were looking at? Did they do the research, or did they just take it apart and try to figure it out? We got our new one. Looks like an easy change. It looks exactly the same, so we just got to get this one off. We're gonna take these bolts off, put the new one in. Looks like we just got a plug over here to remove. Gotta take my time with it. There we go, we got it. Okay, so based off what I'm seeing here, they are the same. This old one doesn't look like it was changed. It looks all beat up, so I don't think they attempted to do that. Again, they took it apart. I don't know if they attempted to change it, or they could have. Let's see. Now we're gonna plug this up right now, and hopefully we get a buzz. Okay, so what I did was I just plugged this one in, the new one. I'm gonna go ahead, before I screw it in, I wanna give it a test. I wanna pull on that trunk lever and see if it makes a noise, if it opens up the trunk at all. Let's see what happens. All right, so this is basically where the lever is right here on the trunk. It's kind of like a rubber lever. You guys can see that. It's like right under here. You just put your finger under there. It's just like, you know, controlled by, electric. I'm gonna go ahead and press on it and hopefully we get something out of it. Let's go ahead and press it. 3, 2, 1. We got something, guys. Yep. So we're getting something out of that, so that's a good thing. All right, let's screw this thing back together and hopefully our trunk just pops open and works, guys. Okay, guys, before we fully put it back together, let's close this thing and try to open it up. We got it, guys. So we pretty much fixed the trunk. I'm extremely happy about that. Very cheap part. It looks like they took this thing apart, messed everything up, and did not figure out what was wrong. A potential customer is not gonna want to buy the car if the trunk does not open. That's just one of those things. So simple to everybody else, but it's major when it comes time to selling a car. So that's a very big win. Okay, so our parts are here. Now let me show you guys a little bit more of what's going on with this car. Now what needs to be changed here on this car is the valve cover gasket and also the intake. Now for this particular problem, we can get away with just changing the valve cover gasket, but the issue is, based off my research, that problem is gonna come back if we don't change the intake manifold. What's happening here is there's a little piece inside of the intake manifold which is breaking the diaphragm on the valve cover gasket, which is this. Now we're gonna go ahead and test this and see if it is blown. I'm gonna turn on the car. If we get a little bit of air pressure, then that thing is blown. Okay, with this test, the suction from this hole on the diaphragm should suck the paper up and keep it there. Getting any suction from the diaphragm at all, that's kind of nuts. I don't know, I might be wrong. Should have did this test before we overnighted our parts. There's another code on the card. I can go ahead and test that out and see if that could be the issue, because maybe that code can set off this code. You know, they all work together sometimes. Sometimes one thing could mess up another thing. This is a good thing if it's not that part, because the other piece that we need to check is the purge valve solenoid, which is giving us that evap code. To test this one out, we pretty much got to take off this hose right here. All right, so we got that off. And we also got to take off this sensor right here. All right, we got that off. If the purge valve is messed up, we're supposed to get some air suction right here. It should be pulling my finger or a piece of paper as well. We'll get some air from here if this is messed up. I didn't order this part, but this could be a possibility. We got our car started up. Let's put a piece of paper here, and there you go. Look at that. It's sucking on the paper, guys. Look, paper stuck. You can see this. It's pulling the paper, pulling my finger, making the engine run different. So look at that. It looks like this is the culprit. That's a possibility. If we change that, then that will make the other code go away, which is the worst code, which is changing the whole valve cover gasket and the intake. So we're gonna try the small part first. I wish I knew I would have did that first. Okay, so it's looking like our local Advance Auto has the part that we need, which is so cool. I was gonna order online overnight on Amazon, which is about 20 bucks. It looks like I'm gonna get it for like 45. Gonna probably come out to 50 bucks from Advance Auto. Advance Auto probably has a more quality part. I just don't want to wait. I want to get this car fixed and I want to get it out of here. Okay, so we got our new part. Happy they had it in stock. So we're going to do the same thing over here. We're just going to disconnect this wire, this hose. Let's take this thing off. We got our old piece. Let's compare the old to the new. Looks exactly the same exact way. All right, so we're going to put this in. We're gonna put this switch back on over here. All right, let's go ahead and snap this in, and that should do it. Only thing we can do now is erase the codes, restart the car, and ride this thing out, let the monitors clear, and hopefully we get the $200 that I spent on those other parts. If this works, I think we're gonna be good to go. Okay, so our monitors passed. That means we just passed inspection. We got our new inspection till 2025. This is good. No more check engine light, guys. This is a good thing. So we ended up doing it with the cheap part. We ended up saving that $200 that we would have spent on the other part. So now what I want to do is see what's going on with this side. As you know, we had a bunch of brake dust over here. I'm going to go ahead and grab my wheel at the 12 o'clock and the 6 o'clock position and see if we have any play. If we have any play, that could be a wheel bearing or something like that, because sometimes a wheel bearing can cause that type of friction, but we don't have any play this way. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab it at our 3 o'clock position, and I'm gonna see if we have any play. And look at that, guys. We have play, guys. We have play. What this could be is possibly a tie rod or something like that. We're gonna take this wheel off and see what it is. So let's go ahead and take a look in here at the tie rod. Now this is our outer tie rod. Let's see if we have any play over here. And we do, guys. We have play. Now you can see the tie rod just moving up and down, back and forth. It's not supposed to do that. So I'm gonna quickly run to Advance Auto and grab that tie rod. Here it is. And whoa, we got it. Okay, so we just went to Advance Auto. We got our part. Here's our tie rod. Take a look at that. We just got to take this one off and put the new one. I want to go ahead and compare it. Looks the same, matches up. Sure, I hit it with some PB Blaster, get it nice and soaked. So here's how this is going to work. So what we're going to do is basically loosen this nut, maybe like a little bit, not too much, because if you do, you'll mess up your wheel alignment. Next thing we want to do is we want to take this nut off, bang out our tie rod, and then when we take off the tie rod, we want to count how many times we take it off so we can put it on the same way so our wheel alignment doesn't get messed up. Just break it. Now you can see I gave that one turn. I want to give it one more turn. I want to count these. So we got 1 and we have 2. We got our tie rod out. Let's start counting. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 15. So we got 15 turns on this old one. We want to make sure that we go 15 turns back so it won't change anything. Look how bad that was. Look at that. This is why that wheel was like bouncing up and down and clicking. Let's go ahead and put some thread lock for our new tie rod. All right, it's a little too much. I'll put a little bit there. Okay, we're gonna count the turns. Same thing. Start from the bottom. 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we counted our turns. Then we're gonna go ahead and bolt this back up to the brake bracket. Let's put a little more thread lock on there, bolt it down. And there you have it, guys. We got our new tie rod on there. We got it. So as you guys know, I was not going to leave this ugly rotor on there, so went ahead and picked up some rotors as well. We're gonna get these things changed out. As you can see, we changed our tie rod. Look at this rotor. It's disgusting. It's crunchy, really, really bad. It's all like peeling apart. I want to keep a customer happy when they get the car. I don't want them to see the rust on there like this, and I just want to give them a set of good rotors. So to remove these rotors, you can see we have a screw right here. We're gonna take our caliper off. Okay, we got up our caliper. Gonna go ahead and remove this brake bracket. Guys, look at all that rust that came out. Crazy. This thing was done. Look at that. Look at the back of this brake disc. It's crazy. Look at this thing. Done. Sheesh. I've never seen anything like this, guys. Seriously. Look what we were riding on. We got this little area over here for braking. Wow, that's just crazy to me. That was bad. So I didn't open up our caliper over here. So I usually do it with a screwdriver before I take it off. But I thought that we were just changing out the disc and not the brakes. So what I have to do is, I got this little device here. I'm gonna put one of the old pads to open it up. I'm gonna put it against here. Then I'm gonna take our device and push the piston in so they can open up for the new brake pads. Now you can see I'm squeezing it and the piston is going in. Okay, I put it behind the bracket and it's opening the piston so that we can easily slide our caliper over the new pads. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. While I was changing out the brake disc and all, I noticed there was an oil leak on here. So I pretty much started checking around the car to see what was going on, and it happens to be the valve cover. We're gonna go ahead and change that. I don't wanna sell this to somebody and they have an oil leak under the car. I noticed oil was leaking down. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's this whole piece right here. So pretty much, we have to change this whole piece, and while I'm in here, I'm gonna go ahead and change out the coil packs and the spark plugs. I went ahead and bought all of that stuff from Amazon. It wasn't that much money, so I figured I'm taking off the whole valve cover. Why not just change the coil pack and the spark plugs at the same time? Let's get into it. Yeah, if you notice, all the boots stood behind on top of the spark plug, so that's no good at all. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove this whole valve cover and also change the spark plugs as well. Now I do want to remove the spark plugs, but you want to make sure that you wait till afterwards because you don't want anything to fall down the spark plug hole because that's basically going to go right into where your valves are and you don't want to get anything there. So I'm going to do the spark plugs last. So always do your cover first. I did forget the oil stick. We got our valve cover off. See what we got going on over here. Now you can see there was an oil leak right here. You can see all of that oil right there. It's coming down the sides. We're gonna clean this up basically, change out our spark plugs, put our new one on. And you can see we got oil over here too coming out the sides. Look at that, that's all oil residue. This is the part when you wanna make sure everything is clean before you put the new one on there. If you don't clean this up properly, the new valve is not gonna adhere to the new metal. So we got our new valve cover. She's looking good. Even comes with a new oil cap. So all we got to do basically is put our gasket glue on there. She should be good to go. Some of our gasket sealant. I'm gonna take a fingertip amount, a decent amount on my fingertip. I'm gonna put some in this corner right here, because this is where the timing chain is at, and then I'm gonna put some more over here. So let's put our new one in, starting with this side, so we won't mess up our sealant. So I'm starting to tighten these up, but I'm not tightening up all the way because there is a certain pattern that you have to follow, kind of like a crisscross pattern. And they also need to be torqued. All right, so we got our torque wrench. We're gonna torque it to 70 foot-pounds. Gonna do it a crisscross pattern. Okay, our spark plugs are changed. Really nothing to see there. Why film the spark plugs? New coil pack. You can see that all of the boots are on the coil pack. We're gonna put that right there. Push it in. Let's go ahead and give this thing a start, see how she sounds. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is basically start to paint these rust spots, that front spot and this spot. So what I did here was basically clean the hood, right? You wanna make sure that the hood is clean before you start your paint work. And you just wanna make sure that you get it, you know, all the dust and dirt off of it and dry it off. So this is the spot we're gonna target. Okay, and we're also going to target the other part as well. So I'm just putting a cover on there so I won't have any overspray on top of the car. Put on my mask, and we're going to hit it with a 320, guys. A 320 right here is going to take the paint down to the metal. Okay, and that's what we wanted at. We want to get it down to the metal, and the rust wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Gonna go ahead and clean that area too. What we have here is a rust preventer. We're gonna go ahead and use our rust preventer, and we're gonna apply it on the area that we just sanded down. It's gonna help the rust not come back. So you wanna slightly hit this area right here, and you just wanna give it a light spray. Now don't worry, all of that can be sanded down flat. Go ahead and start to get this down with a 320 so that our Bondo can stick to the hood. Now you can see that rust preventer is starting to go away, but the rust preventer basically went into the areas where the rust was. This surface right here, we're gonna apply the Bondo, and that shouldn't rust back up. But this is the area that was pretty much rusted, and that rust preventer got stuck pretty much in the grooves of that rust. Now for this small area, I'm just gonna take some glazing spot putty, and I'm just gonna apply it with my finger in this area. Now this is good for like rock chips and stuff like that. It just fills in the area. Okay, so it's been about an hour. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna take 320, and we're gonna start knocking down this Bondo. Now you can see the Bondo is ugly, it's kind of thick. We're gonna knock it down, and you can see we have the little spot putty over here. We're gonna hit that with a 400. Just making sure it's nice and flat. Now you can see we got this area nice and flat. So what I'm gonna do here is basically hit it with a 400 grit, wet sand this whole little area over here so that our new paint can stick to that and our clear coat can stick to that. And we're gonna 400 this whole area. The next step is to use our primer. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a test spray. Looking good. So we're gonna give it one coat. Let's hit this area as well. Okay, let's go for our second coat. Okay, so we got our second coat here. We're gonna go ahead and sand this down with a 600. I was gonna do a 4, but I'm gonna do a 6 just so that it will blend perfectly. If you notice right here in this area, I don't know what this is. I tried to take glue off and get it off. It's like a stain or something like that, but it looks like the paint went through the paint. I don't know exactly what this is, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit this with the 600 as well. So when I start to paint this area, I will spray that with white as well, and it will just look just like the rest of the panel. Okay, so we won't get any hard lines. What I'm gonna do is take a strip of tape, and I'm gonna fold it a little bit. And what I wanna do is put it on the area that I'm not painting, because I don't want any hard lines. If you put the tape straight, it's gonna leave a hard line, and you're gonna have to buff that out. Okay, so I just bent the tape, curled it up like this, because we don't want any paint going in this area, because that's just gonna be a lot of overspray. We're just gonna paint white paint right on top of our primer, and then we're gonna clear coat the rest of it, and then we're gonna apply a blender that's gonna blend in that whole area. Okay, here are the paints that we're gonna use, the Duplicolor Perfect Match. So this pretty much matches the color color code of the car. Duplicolor is very cheap. Now you guys that do watch the channel, you guys know I usually use a paint gun. I can paint a full car. I've done a couple on this channel. Go check them out if you didn't. But when it comes time to spot painting, there's no need to paint the whole thing. I've done whole hoods, I've done whole cars. Check out those videos. And then we're gonna use a real clear coat. This is a hardener clear coat. So it has a little red top right here. We'll get more into that. Where you press the button and it really turns to a real clear coat. It's not cheap clear coat, so it's gonna last. You can buff it out, you can wet sand it, whatever it is. And then lastly, we have our spot blender in a can. So what this is gonna do is basically melt the old clear coat to the new clear coat so there won't be any lines and there won't be any difference. Let's shake our Duplicolor, give it a test spray, see how it looks, see how it sprays. Let's go ahead and hit this lightly in the areas that need to be painted. Let's go with our first coat. It's gonna be kind of sloppy, but we'll get our second one afterwards to fill it all in. So as you can see, our first coat is starting to dry. It's looking really good. There are some imperfections right here that I didn't sand correctly, but way better than a rust spot. This side over here has its first coat as well. Yeah, so that's our first coat. We're gonna go ahead and apply our second coat now. So we have a 2K primer, and the way the 2K primer works is there's a red button right here that you put on the bottom to activate the hardener on the paint. And then pretty much what you do is you press the bottom, break that hardener for you, so you can pretty much get that quality clear coat that's gonna last. Let's start our first spray. Light coat. First coat. Okay, we're gonna lay this second coat a little bit heavier so we can get that gloss. So you can see a way better shine, guys, with that second coat. Nice gloss to it, looking good. So I'm gonna take off the tape now that we got our second coat in. And I'm gonna apply the spot blender. That's gonna melt our two clears together so this thing won't look weird. So you just apply it at the top of the clear coat line, and that's basically gonna melt it in. Quite a long road, guys, but the car is finally done. We're just left with this small detail, nothing that a vacuum can't take care of, and we're pretty much gonna go ahead and clean those seats. So to get this thing all tidied up, take our pictures for Facebook, list this thing, and make our profit. Let's clean this thing and get into the numbers for this car. Let's go. Okay, guys, before we get into numbers, I want to talk a little bit about the backup camera. Now, I did purchase a backup camera, and I went ahead and returned it. It didn't work. I recorded it, but it was too much for the video. This video was pretty long, so I didn't want to put that in there. It didn't make any sense. I changed it and it didn't work. So the grand total for this car, what we paid shipped to us, was $3,460. We went ahead and bought a purge valve for $55. We bought a trunk actuator for only $26. We bought brakes and rotors for $120. We got a backup camera for $60. I returned that, so I minus that from the actual cost. We had inspection for $50. We went ahead and bought the base coat and clear coat paint for $37. We got our spark plugs for $20. We got an oil change for $50. The tie rod was $33. We got the valve cover gasket for $40. We got a coil pack for $43. I went ahead and bought some mats and had them overnighted from Amazon. Those were $20, bringing us to a grand total of $4,114. Now on Facebook, everywhere, these things go for over $7 grand. I'm taking $7,100 for the car. That's bringing our profit to a grand total of $3,086, guys. If you guys like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. I will talk to you guys soon. Let me know what you think below. Leave a comment, it helps the channel. And if you guys need any products, you want to support the channel, you can go to my website, easybladeshavingproducts.com. Thank you.